Welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust, we believe is the best way for you to exit highly appreciated real estate, save a failed 1031 exchange, sell cryptocurrency, all tax deferred. We're also streaming on Expert CRE Secrets podcast and YouTube channel as well. If you're hearing us there, thanks for joining us. Hey, I'm your host, Brett Swarts. In each episode, I'm joined by some of the best real estate, financial, wealth, sometimes cryptocurrency minds in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. I'm excited about our next guest. He's out of Central California, and he leads a part of the team at Voyager Pacific Capital, where he and his team took over full-time management of day-to-day operations in July of that year with the task of building on the foundation laid by previous management. He has been focused on very strong in operations, systems, and technology, and he's implemented proprietary software he designed to track and communicate asset details internally, streamlining the management process of thousands of smaller assets by increasing operational efficiencies. And prior to his role with Voyager Pacific, he started investing and developing real estate in 1994 with his first purchase of a bank REO, which was substantially rehabbed and turned into a rental. Since then, he has rehabbed properties, built houses from the ground up, subdivided land, designed multi-unit residential properties, and so much more. Please welcome to the show with me, David Hardcastle. Hey, David, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Brett. Nice to be with you today.
Absolutely. For our listeners getting to know you for the first time, would you give them a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Yeah. So, like you mentioned, I've been investing in real estate since the mid '90s, and then through last year was mainly doing it for personal investing, but ended up buying some properties from Voyager Pacific last year, which is the private equity real estate fund that I now am the CEO of. And during that transaction, got to know the CEO at the time, and also the founder. And we started talking. And one of the things that he was interested in was possibly if I was interested in either buying all the assets in the fund or buying out his general partnership in the fund and running it. And so timing was really good. I had the time to do it. Was looking for some new challenges. I saw a lot of opportunity with Voyager Pacific. With the assets that he had accumulated so far, and with the operational efficiencies and software that you mentioned applied to the fund, knew that we could continue to grow it and also maximize the return on investment in with the fund. So that's kind of where we're at after a little over a year into it.
Excellent. And by the way, you can learn more about David Hardcastle at voyagerpacific.com. That's voyagerpacific.com. So David, I think we've all been given certain gifts in this life, and I want you to go back maybe to your high school or college days. And some people call these strengths, some people call them superpowers. And I think these gifts have been given to us to be a blessing and help to others. So I'm curious, what are those one or two gifts that or strengths that you believe you were given, and how does it help how you help and bless people today?
Well, I mean, if you go back to high school or even before that, I've always been involved in team sports. And I always say business is a team sport because not everybody can do everything. So like a football team, when I was growing up, I was the quarterback of the football team. It was up to me to, communicate the play, survey the field, see what the defense was doing, and then get my guys in the right spot and execute that play. And that's a lot what business is like. As a CEO, it's your job to look forward, kind of see what's going on in the marketplace with your businesses and various things, and execute the strategies that make sense at the time. So, really playing team sports. Also, in addition to that, just working with different types of people. When you're running a business or just in day-to-day life, it's all about interpersonal communication with the various folks you have to work with, and teams. There's no better way to learn that than dealing with team sports, because you got everything. You got ups, downs, highs, lows, touchdowns, interceptions, you name it, you got it in team sports. And it just really translates well to life.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely big proponent of team sports, and had the privilege of playing college basketball and playing football and basketball growing up. And so it's like nothing else, that can train you, is what I found. So big proponent of that. Well, very cool. Let's dive right into the topic at hand, which is diversified in real estate investing, and talking about ways to to grow your wealth and to do it in a way which can lower your risk. So, David, what's the number one secret with Voyager Pacific Capital and what you're doing there to help individuals create and preserve more wealth in a diversified way?
Well, with our Opportunity Fund 2, that's really designed as a very conservative real estate fund. And the way it works is we have thousands of smaller assets in this fund. So the risk is really spread out over lots of smaller dollar value assets in various geographical locations. So I really like it because, say you have an issue with one house in Cleveland, for instance, maybe it burns down or something. That really doesn't affect the overall fund itself, and it doesn't affect the profitability in any major significant way. Whereas opposed to, some investments that you can do where, say it's a 300 unit apartment complex and say that neighborhood goes bad or, the apartment complex burns down, then you really got some issues because all your eggs are basically in one basket. With the Opportunity Fund 2, we've got it spread out both, geographically as well as across different smaller assets. So as I mentioned, single family rentals we have. We also have vacant land, which we sell on contract throughout 28 states. And then we also invest in tax liens. And so you got three distinctly different asset classes within one fund.
Got it. Excellent. So multiple asset classes within one fund, different geographic locations, and even different product types. So that's the first secret. Okay. Excellent. And what's like the second secret to growing your wealth within or just the next step of someone who's interested in growing their wealth with this type of a strategy?
Well, with Fund 2, that's basically set up for folks that are looking for steady income, very conservative. So this year we started Fund 3, which is a little more aggressive. And so Fund 3 is focused on value add, very opportunistic type projects. So those projects are in the $3 to $15 million range, so higher dollar values, but also potential to have higher returns. So, what we offer in Voyager is a little of both. You've got the very conservative, safe Fund 2, and then you've got the more aggressive, potentially higher returns in Fund 3. So we feel like we've got all the bases covered there. The other nice thing about our fund is the management team. Our team has combined experience over 100 years investing and managing real estate. So that's another thing that's very important when you're looking at what to invest in is who is actually running the show and the experience they have. And I would match our team's experience with anybody's team out there.
Excellent. Absolutely. It's not just the asset you're purchasing, right? It's the business plan, and then it's the players to execute the business plan, right? Like football, right? You have the
That's right.
offensive coordinator, you have the game plan, but you got to have the right personnel on the field to execute the business plan. NFL just started this week, and it was a fun and college football too. So, is there a favorite team you like out there, David?
Well, I've always been a Dallas Cowboys fan. Almost pulled it out against the Bucks, but when you got Tom Brady and a minute and 30 seconds left, he's hard to beat. So, we'll try again later, maybe in the Super Bowl.
For sure, absolutely. That was a great game, really great game. Neat. So, let's shift to investors. What's a question that investors that are looking at different groups to invest with on the commercial real estate side, right? What's a question they should be asking you, or a common question that they ask you to find out if it could be a good fit for working with you guys?
Well, probably the number one question we get is, what are the returns and how secure is my money? In Fund 2, we have no leverage, so there's no debt on any of the assets in Fund 2. That's another safety feature, massive safety feature that's built into Fund 2. So those are some of the questions that a lot of folks will ask when they're looking into what to invest in. Obviously, the other thing is track record. How long you've been around, performance of the fund itself over the years. Fund 2 has returned a 10% return every year plus since its inception in 2015. So we've got a very strong track record. Fund 3 is headed up by Phil Adler. Phil has been developing real estate and managing real estate in the New York tri-state area for the last 35 years and has developed over $500 million worth of real estate. So, like I mentioned, our team is incredibly strong and has a solid track record behind us.
Excellent. And then on for Fund 3, a little more value add, a little more opportunistic, 3 to 15 million. If you had any potential returns, I know it's not guaranteed, right? You don't want to make performance promises, but is there kind of if the first one's 10% opportunity 2, is Fund 2 or Fund 3, 15 to 20, or what's kind of your mark there? What are you hoping for?
Yeah, so in Fund 3, we have an 8% preferred return. That's guaranteed to the investor for any profits that would come in. They would get the first 8% profits that come in. Above that, we've got a 65-35 split between 8 and 12%. So the investors would get 65% of any profits, and then above 12%, we split it 50-50. Our projections are in the 15 to 20% range returns, year annualized returns for Fund 3, and that's simply because of the types of projects we're doing. So our first project in Fund 3, we're doing a 6-unit townhome development in Hastings-on-the-Hudson, New York, which is about 25 minutes outside of Manhattan. And that one is a ground-up development. We're going to build 6 townhome units. Each unit's going to be worth about $1.25 million apiece. We're picking up the project with a shovel-ready project for about $1.6 million. We will build it out for about $4 million and then sell it out between $7 and $8 million. So you can see quite a bit of an upside there. And the return on equity should be in the 100% range over the 24 to 36 month period. So very high returns on projects like that. The risk on those, though, which we've talked about risk, is what's the market going to look like, 2 to 3 years from now? Are interest rates going to be good for potential buyers? So those are the things that you can't really predict. But historically, those areas, the higher end areas like that have done quite well, even in economic downturn times. So I think we'll be in pretty good shape.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that. By the way, we're talking with David Hardcastle, and he's with Voyager Pacific Capital, and you can learn more about David and his team at voyagerpacific.com. So David, we're going to shift a little bit to capital gains tax and discussions on ways to defer tax and grow wealth. So I believe it's no longer just about cash flow, it's about tax flow. Cash flow is important, but with the changing of the guard in leadership and the proposed changes on the table, it's more and more important to be very, very prepared and planned for capital gains tax and income tax and estate tax. And so I want to start with this question. When it comes to yourself and your partners and clients over the years, what's been the biggest frustration when it comes to capital gains tax deferral and or the 1031 exchange?
Well, right now, we're seeing a lot of people that come to us that have 1031 money. And unfortunately, they don't have any place to put that money because there's not a lot of good deals out there right now. That's one of the biggest issues we've been seeing probably for the last 6 to 8 months. A lot of people are selling their properties right now because prices are good. That's obviously when you want to sell. But then when you got to go reinvest that somewhere, there's no good deals to be had. So, a product like what you guys have with DST is probably a really good solution in the sense that it takes that pressure off them where they don't have to, stress about finding a property in a limited amount of time or investing in a property that just doesn't make sense financially just because they have to do it. So that's probably the biggest thing I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, I could agree with you more, right? We call that the shotgun wedding, right? You get married you get engaged in 45 days, you got to get married within 180. But even beyond all that of selling high and buying higher and maybe not being able to find that deal that makes a lot of sense, oftentimes people get in trouble because they're not diversified and they're not liquid and they have too much debt. And oftentimes that's what the 1031 exchange requires because it's equal or greater value within a short period of time. And it's typically the whole entity must move, meaning if you own it by yourself, you're in it all by yourself, right? Which creates more risk, okay? If you have more debt, You have less diversification, also have no or little liquidity, right? And so in the 2008 crash, that's exactly what we found is the three causes where people got hurt the most. They had too much debt, they had overpaid via the 1031 exchange, and they didn't have enough liquidity, right? So the Deferred Sales Trust is the solution for that because it's not a 1031 exchange. You can sell high, diversify your equity, put it into stocks, bonds, mutual funds, hard money lending, real estate, passive or active, all tax deferred, as well as pay off your debt, right? You don't have to be in a bunch of debt. And you also have time. You can dollar cost average into multiple deals, right? Put smaller amounts into smaller deals because there's no equal or greater value. When you add all of that, that helps you to build a diversified real estate wealth portfolio. And that's what we most love about it. So any thoughts on that diversification piece of it?
Yeah, and I've seen that with guys that had debt on properties that they've sold, and it's made it very difficult to go find another property and put that same amount of debt on it. And so I think it's a really negative issue when you got a 1031 that you got to place that debt back on it. Diversification is always good. Like we talked about in Fund 2, we're very diversified there, diversified among different types of asset classes, whether that's real estate or stocks, bonds, mutual funds, whatever. It's very important to have a good diversified portfolio and not having that, shotgun, pointed at your back while you're trying to make these decisions is just so helpful because typically if you're rushed, you don't make good decisions.
Absolutely. And let's touch on the estate. By the way, you can learn more about that at capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. It's capitalgainstaxsolutions.com on the Deferred Sales Trust. Let's talk about estate tax and some of the, I think Biden is, as of yesterday, what I've heard, they're taking off of the stepped up basis off the table. Like they're planning on, it's got so much, pushback that as of right now, it appears to be off the table. They're not going to be talking about eliminated the stepped up basis, but they are still talking about the 1031 exchange potentially. And the estate tax, even separate to that, is set to expire and drop in half, which I think is the big elephant in the room. I think a lot of people are focused on capital gains tax, and then we are too. But that's like the tiger by the tail. Like that's important to defer that 30 to 50% in cap gains tax. But the other elephant that's sitting in the room is the estate tax. So for those who are worth above 22 million married, 12 million single, and those are big numbers, but those are the highest exemptions we've seen basically in the history of this whole thing. Those are going to cut in half down to 12 million married, 6 million single. And I've even heard potentially 7 million married, $3.5 million single, meaning anything above and beyond those marks upon your estate passing is going to be subject to 40% estate tax for anything left in your taxable estate. So Dave, I'm just curious, any thoughts on that side of things for yourself or for your clients who are ultra high net worth?
Well, it never ceases to amaze me how our governments can figure out how to tax us and get into our pockets even more. We live in California. There's always new ways that they're looking to tax us. So, I'm not surprised, with the current administration that they're looking at these things. So, anything you can do to prepare for that, any strategies that would work, I would highly, highly suggest to implement as soon as possible. I know we have a seller of some properties in New York. It's 17 lots worth about $1 million a lot each. These poor guys were in contract with one of the large home builders in the country. And they're stressing out because they got like 3 months to get it done because they know what's coming after the first of the year. And, this company has decided they're going to drag them along. So good news for us, we might be able to swoop in and get a hell of a deal on these 17 lots. But these guys are just kind of stuck in a rock and a hard place. And if it wasn't for somebody like us to come in and do a deal with them, they might have a massive tax issue and be sending a lot of money to some place that they didn't want to send it to or think that they were going to have to send it to if it wasn't for us being able to come in. So, trying to plan ahead for that is crucial these days, at least for the next coming years, I would imagine. So if you can do it now, I would highly recommend it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, David. It's really plan, right? And again, it's not about cash flow, just about cash flow. It's about tax flow. And so make sure you have that exit plan. And that's, again, why we love the Deferred Sales Trust. We can solve partnership challenges, partnership separations. You can work for businesses, cryptocurrency, real estate sales. You can save a failed 1031 exchange. You can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to learn more about that. That being said, David, we're running out of time. Are you ready for the lightning round?
Let's do it.
All right. Knowing what you know now, if you could go back to your 25-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget you'd make sure to tell yourself to do?
I would invest in real estate starting from day one.
Excellent. What's the number one book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year?
Number one book I've recommended. Let's see. The latest book I read, which was pretty awesome, was American Mark Levin. I really enjoy his writings.
Excellent. Next question. What are you most curious about right now?
Most curious? Well, just kind of seeing what the future is going to hold with everything that's going on in the world. That's probably what I'm most curious about. I really pay close attention to what's going on a daily basis, and how it's going to affect us, not just, as a business and our staff here, but, personally and whatnot. I've got two young daughters, late teens, early 20s, and I'm really concerned about what the future holds for those guys. Because, when I grew up, probably you too, we lived in a country that was full of opportunity, and I just hope that continues for them as they start their young lives. So that's the main thing I'm probably most curious and concerned about right now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Second to last question. What's the number one leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by?
Leadership quote or theme? Well, I got a good one. I don't know if I can say it on this one, but I love George Patton. He was very direct, which these days, being direct kind of gets you in trouble. But he was a very direct guy. And one of my favorite movies is Patton. And he was giving his speech before, at the beginning of the movie when the troops went out, and he said, we're going to go through them like shit through a goose. So that's the way I look at things. We're just going to go and barrel through things. Last year when COVID hit, I told our staff and our investors, I said, for us, it's business as usual. We're going to continue to keep doing what we do. And we're gonna come out on the other end of this thing in much better shape, because we're not going to go in a hole. We're not going to take days off. We're going to keep working hard. And guess what? It worked out very well for us.
Absolutely love it. And for our last question, after all your success, helping the people that you've helped, helping to build Voyager Pacific Capital up more, doing deals since 1994, and building a bunch of wealth in real estate, I'm curious, how do you stay centered in your values, and how do you stay encouraged to charge forward to reach new heights?
Well, fortunately, I got a great wife. I got great kids. Family, is very, very important. Growing up, my mother didn't let us quit anything. And so she said, when you start something, you finish it, no matter how hard it is. And that's really stuck with me throughout life, because life's up and downs. There's no doubt about it. Business, especially the trying times that we've seen, even in the last 15 years with the 2008 crash. So I would say that's the thing that really keeps me going, is family and, just good leadership there.
Excellent. And for our listeners who want to get in touch with you, David, would you mind one last time, what's the best place for them to find you?
VoyagerPacific.com is the best place. We got all the contact information there. If you have any interest, just fill out the form there, and we'll be in touch with you.
Excellent. Hey, David Hardcastle, I want to thank you for being on the show. I want to thank you for sharing your gifts with the people that you serve, and help them to work together in a team sport, right? And to move the vision forward, and to help people create and preserve more wealth and diversified real estate investing. And I also want to thank our listeners for listening to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, also streaming on Expert CRE Secrets podcast and YouTube channel, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust is the best way for you to exit highly appreciated cryptocurrency, businesses, real estate, save a failed 1031 exchange, or perhaps even save yourself from overpaying, taking on too much debt, not having enough liquidity in a marketplace that is just kind of really a seller's market, and perhaps diversify and invest in opportunities with VoyagerPacific.com or others. And you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to learn more about that. Please rate, review, subscribe. Please share this with someone it could be helpful to. We so appreciate all of you out there in the YouTube, iTunes world, Spotify, wherever you are consuming the content. And